I was on the verge of winning the match, securing my 9th consecutive championship, but my wife, who also served as my coach, not only refused to cheer for me but claimed I had intentionally placed a piece outside the designated area, violating the rules. She immediately appealed to the referee, demanding that the man she idolized be declared the winner of the game. Rules are rules, they weren't just made up today. If you're not good enough, practice more. A mistake is a mistake. Stand up and take your punishment for a moment. Every spectator in the arena expected me to fly into a rage and flip the board. But instead, I calmly accepted the penalty, admitting my fault in front of countless reporters. My wife, thinking I had finally seen reason, smiled and explained her rationale. You're becoming a has-been, Sincere. Just let the newcomer have this championship. Once he wins, he'll join our team and start earning us a fortune in endorsements. With a supportive wife like me, you should be counting your lucky stars. But she didn't know. Not only the organizers of this tournament, but nearly half the key figures in the entire chess world were part of my master's network. Without my resources, even with a championship title, her new favorite would be a champion in name only. And she, for her part, would not only see her reputation destroyed for fixing a match for money, but would also face a mountain of legal claims that would leave her with absolutely nothing. Chapter 1. The moment I finished my apology to the press, I turned to see my wife, Victoria Vance, scurrying over to my opponent, Hector Reed, with a towel and a water bottle. She twisted open the cap and held the bottle to Hector's lips with a look of deep concern. Hector, darling, that must have been exhausting. Have some water. As Hector took the bottle, Victoria gently dabbed the sweat from his temples with the towel. Anyone watching would have thought she was Hector's coach, not mine. With Hector's victory in the game, fans swarmed around him. Hector, that was an incredible game, a truly god-like move. A newcomer defeating the 8-time champion Sincere Sterling in his first world tournament. His future is limitless, exactly. It was like he was possessed by the ancient chess sages. If Sincere hadn't broken the rules, the win would have been even more magnificent. Listening to this fawning praise, I couldn't help but let out a short, sharp laugh. A god-like move? More like a masterstroke of tattling. While I was in the restroom, that kid had been secretly signaling to Victoria, and Victoria, my own coach, had promptly reported me for a rule violation, resulting in an immediate forfeit of the game. I had argued that the rule was a new one, added just a week ago, and aimed specifically at me. But Victoria had retorted that rules were rules, not something decided on the day of the match. She criticized me for always making excuses and told me to stand up and take my punishment. From a distance, Hector noticed my displeasure and his smirk grew wider. He taunted me directly, in front of all the cameras. Senior Sterling, is a simple apology really enough? A man like you who despises the rules and disrespects his opponents doesn't even deserve to be a chess player. If you had any shame at all, you'd forfeit the entire tournament right now. Save yourself from further embarrassing our master, don't you think? His words made my stomach turn. Yes, Hector wasn't just my opponent. He was the junior disciple I had personally brought to our master. He was short, from a poor family, and had a timid, meek personality. He was constantly bullied in school, and I happened to step in and save him one day. Later, he said he wanted to learn chess from me, to be formidable like I was, so I took him under my master's wing. I spent 3 hours of my own rest time every day, personally teaching him the game. I knew his family was poor, so in all these years I never asked for a single dollar in coaching fees. I even gave him a portion of my prize money to help with his living expenses. I had asked Victoria, as a coach on the team, to look out for him. And look out for him, she did, all the way to the same hotel room. She had even abandoned the sportsmanship she had upheld for over a decade, manipulating a match just to burnish his reputation and pave his way to success. What was even more disgusting was that Hector, lacking the qualifications to compete, had secretly changed his nationality to play as a main contender for another country, betraying our master in the process. From afar, Victoria saw the dark look on my face and quickly came over to explain. Sincere, don't be so angry. Once he wins the championship, he'll naturally join us and earn money for us through endorsements. With a devoted wife like me allowing you to make a fortune without lifting a finger, shouldn't you be overjoyed? She wore an expression that screamed, "I'm doing this for your own good," and it made me sick. Still, I forced myself to nod.
All right, I understand.
Victoria froze for a second, seemingly surprised that I had given in so easily. But she quickly replaced her surprise with a look of approval. I knew you'd understand. Besides, he's your junior from the same master. As his senior, don't you want to see him go further and bring glory to your shared legacy? Just go easy on him in the final game. There's no need to be so serious. But I just shook my head with a cold smile. That won't be necessary. I, Sincere Sterling, withdraw from the tournament without a moment's hesitation. I put on my coat, turned, and walked away. The entire hall fell silent. Everyone stared, their eyes wide and their mouths agape, large enough to fit an egg. This was a world-class tournament, after all. If I had won that final game, I would have become the 9-time champion. The first in history, the commercial value behind such a title was immeasurable. Countless masters before me had gone bald and broken their bodies chasing that honor, dying without ever achieving it, and I had just casually thrown away my final chance. The air was thick with stunned silence for a long time before the referee finally declared Hector the champion. Victoria's face, however, was ashen. She strode up to me, her voice a low, furious hiss. Sincere, if you're not happy with my decision, you should have just said so by withdrawing like this. You've put Hector in an impossible position. It makes it look like everyone is ganging up on you, and that will damage his commercial value. I just replied flatly, "It's just a trophy. It doesn't matter. You're overthinking it." At that, Victoria sighed and handed me a bank card. "Forget it. Go get something to eat. I'll handle the organizers and the reporters. Don't worry. Once Hector joins us, you won't have to work so hard playing chess anymore. You can just relax at home, and I can finally focus on our family, give you a beautiful baby, and we can live a good life." As Victoria spoke, a gentle smile graced her lips, as if we were truly a loving couple dreaming of a happy future together. I almost burst out laughing. "We've been married for nearly 10 years. Where was this talk then? Now you remember you want to have a baby with me?" But I had no intention of continuing this life with her. And honestly, I truly didn't care about a so-called championship. Not only were the organizers of this tournament connected to my master, but half the chess world was in his debt. Without my resources, Hector's championship would be nothing more than an empty title. And, at that thought, I pulled a recording pen from my pocket and silently pressed the stop button. With the recording I had just made, my wife would soon be disgraced and lose her coaching license for match fixing, and she would also face a breach of contract lawsuit for an astronomical sum. Chapter 2. This recording pen was the countermove I had prepared long ago. From the very first game of the tournament, I knew something was wrong. Hector wasn't playing seriously at all. Instead, he kept his eyes fixed on the lid of my Go case. His gaze was shifty, filled with calculation and conspiracy. So at the start of the second game, I excused myself to the restroom and secretly activated the recording function on the pen in my pocket, just in case. I never thought it would actually capture Victoria, in her own words, admitting to her private agreement with Hector to throw the match. As a coach representing her country, Victoria's every word and action were supposed to be impeccable. She had signed agreements promising to uphold the nation's honor and to refrain from any action that would harm its interests. Colluding with a player from another country was tantamount to treason, the most serious breach of her contract. Not only would she be stripped of her coaching license, but she would also be liable for maximum damages, facing a fine of astronomical proportions. The fact that she was still lost in her pipe dream of striking it rich was utterly laughable. With that thought, I immediately contacted my lawyer and friend. Old Man Jennings drafted a divorce agreement for me. The sooner, the better. "What? You're really doing it? I thought you were just saying your wife was gentle and supportive." "Don't mention it. It's a long story. I'll tell you about it later." After hanging up, I rubbed my temples, planning to head back to my apartment and pack my things. But as soon as I walked in the door, I was hit by the acrid smell of something burning, mixed with thick smoke. What was going on? My heart sank, and I rushed into the kitchen. The scene before me made me gasp. The gas stove was still on, its blue flames licking the sides of a medicine pot that had boiled dry. The bottom of the pot was charred black, and thick smoke billowed from it. The air was filled with a choking burnt smell that made me cough uncontrollably. I quickly turned off the stove and grabbed the fire extinguisher, blasting the bottom of the pot. White powder erupted, quickly suppressing the flames. Staring at the ravaged kitchen, my eyes turned to ice. Years of intense chest training had taken a toll on my health, and I needed to take traditional herbal medicine to regulate my body. In the past, Victoria would always brew it for me, gently telling me I didn't need to push myself so hard. But now, in her single-minded quest to help Hector win, she had forgotten everything else, nearly burning our home down without a second thought. The irony was suffocating. In the living room, the television was still on, droning away. I was about to turn it off when the news began replaying a report on Hector receiving his award. On the podium, Hector held the trophy and knelt on one knee, gazing lovingly at Victoria. "Victoria Vance, I love you. I was too shy before, but now that I've won the championship, I've finally proven myself. I have the courage to ask you to marry me. I'll come back home after this and we'll never be apart again, okay?" The crowd erupted in cheers. After all, with this, the championship title was staying with one of their own. No one would refuse such a welcome turn of events. I thought that in front of the media, Victoria would at least show some restraint. But not only did she fail to mention the fact that she was already married, she publicly accepted Hector's proposal and kissed him passionately, oblivious to the world around them. On the TV, the host excitedly praised them as a match made in heaven, but watching the scene, my stomach churned. I turned off the television. A second later, my phone vibrated. As expected, it was a message from Hector. "So, did you see the news? What does it matter if you're her husband? She abandoned a lifetime of professional ethics for me. Have you ever been treated like that?" I let out a cold smirk. No, I certainly hadn't. In fact, she had just almost burned down our house. Before I could reply, Hector's taunts continued. "You must be pretty down after losing the match. How about this? Should I be charitable and let you touch the trophy? Oh, by the way, to celebrate, Victoria not only gave me a French kiss, but she also said she's taking me out for a huge feast." I bet some people are at home right now miserably boiling instant noodles, right? I couldn't be bothered to respond to Hector's provocations. I had just finished packing my suitcase when the door opened. Victoria and Hector walked in, laughing and talking. Victoria was carrying 2 large bags full of groceries, while Hector sauntered in empty-handed, like a king. The moment he saw me, Hector's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Oh, packing your bags?" I didn't realize Senior Sterling was so considerate, so eager to get out and make room for me. Sensing the rising tension, Victoria immediately grabbed my arm and explained. "Sincere, you know Hector's personality. He's been like this for years. Don't take it personally. To celebrate Hector rejoining the team and to make it up to you, I'm going to cook a big meal for you both." The next moment, Victoria took the groceries into the kitchen, tied on an apron, and took on the air of a perfect housewife. She was beaming, as if she wasn't the same woman who had been kissing another man on television just moments before. Hector walked up to me, arms crossed, and looked down at me. "I've brought honor to our country now. The proposal was just a publicity stunt for Victoria's sake. I'm sure a man as magnanimous as my senior won't mind, right?" A contemptuous smile played on his lips as he waited for me to explode with rage. I just smiled faintly. "Of course I don't mind. It was just a kiss. You're a great hero, the future #1 in the chess world. It wouldn't even matter if you stayed here tonight." Hector was stunned, clearly not expecting this reaction. The smile froze on his face, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. I ignored him, pulled the prepared divorce papers from my bag, and handed them to Victoria. Sign this first." Victoria was still cheerfully bustling around, assuming I was handing her my retirement application. "My retirement papers? You really are in a hurry. Are you that eager to retire, enjoy a quiet life, and have a baby with me?" She smiled sweetly, wiping her hands as she prepared to sign. But the next moment, when she saw the words divorce agreement in bold letters, the spatula in her hand clattered to the floor. Chapter 3. Her smile froze instantly, her eyes wide with shock. After a few seconds of stunned silence, she seemed to snap back to reality and slammed the vegetable she was holding onto the floor. "Sincere Sterling, what is the meaning of this? I was just celebrating with Hector, bringing him home for a simple meal. Do you have to be so petty as to demand a divorce over something so trivial?" Watching her reaction, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Just celebrating? Her heart had long since stopped belonging to me alone, and her care for Hector had long surpassed the normal relationship between a coach and a player. Now that I was willingly stepping aside for them, shouldn't she be happy? At that thought, I said calmly, "After all these years, did you really think I couldn't see what was going on? I'm giving you both what you want. Won't it be better for you to have your May-December romance out in the open?" As soon as the words left my mouth, Victoria's face turned shades of purple and red. She furiously threw a plate to the ground. "You have a disgusting mind. You know his background." I just felt sorry for him and was looking after him like a child. I had no other intentions. Even now she was still trying to deny it. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. "Is that so? There are plenty of pitiable people on the team. Why don't I gather them all up so you can hold an adoption fair and be a mother to them all?" At my words, Victoria's hands trembled with rage. You're being completely unreasonable. Fine. A divorce it is. With the signed agreement in hand, I left without a second glance and drove to my meeting with my master. As soon as we met, Master Finch let out a long sigh and gestured for me to sit. "My boy, today's match was my oversight. I let you suffer an injustice. To have someone like Hector emerge from our school, it is a great misfortune. Don't worry, I have already submitted your evidence to the tournament committee. They are furious and will issue a ruling shortly to give you justice." Hearing my master's words, a wave of warmth washed over me. I was about to speak when the door was suddenly kicked open with a loud bang. My heart lurched. A sense of foreboding crept over me. The next moment, Victoria and Hector walked in, one after the other, followed by a pack of reporters armed with cameras and microphones. Before I could react, camera flashes exploded in a relentless series of clicks, blinding me. Hector sneered, looking smug. "I knew a despicable scoundrel like you wouldn't accept defeat. I knew you'd come crying to your master. Planning to use his influence to pressure me, were you?" he said, pointing at me and shouting to the cameras. "Everyone, take a good look. This is your so-called 8-time champion. All he knows are these underhanded tricks, using his power to bully and suppress the next generation." Countless lenses were now aimed at me. Victoria stood to the side, looking at me with disdain. "Sincere, so what if you have a good relationship with these old-timers in the chess world? You lost. That is an established fact. You can't change the outcome of the match, can you?" She paused, her tone becoming even more condescending. "Of course, if you get on your knees right now, admit you're a despicable scoundrel who is simply not good enough. Hector and I might give you a chance. If you sign a contract to become Hector's anonymous training partner, I can keep what happened today a secret and let you save face." Listening to this, I found it utterly absurd. In your dreams hearing this, Victoria's expression changed, a flash of cruelty in her eyes. "You're refusing my kindness. Don't forget, I am your coach. I have already reported to the higher-ups that you are willful and refuse to follow management's orders. I will have you retired and blacklisted so you'll never compete again." She lifted her chin smugly, as if she could already see my downfall. "From now on, Hector is the #1 in the chess world. They have to choose him. They have no other choice." Just then, officials from the tournament committee hurried in. Victoria, assuming they were there to support her, smiled even more broadly. Tisk, I can't believe the former 8-time champion has been abandoned so quickly. How pathetic now. Prick up your ears and listen carefully to your fate, she said, turning to me with a taunting tone. But the next moment, one of the officials walked directly to Hector, took the trophy from his hands and announced, "Hector Reed, after a thorough investigation, we have found conclusive evidence that you bribed a coach to manipulate a match. This has seriously compromised the fairness of the competition. After deliberation, we have decided to nullify your results in this tournament. The championship will be awarded to Sincere Sterling." As the next in line before Hector could react, the official turned a cold gaze on Victoria. "As for you, for colluding with a foreign competitor and accepting bribes, your coaching license is hereby revoked, effective immediately. Furthermore, due to your severe breach of contract and for tarnishing the honor of our nation, we will be pursuing the maximum penalty as stipulated in your contract, 10 times the damages, and we will be filing criminal charges, Chapter 4. As the official's voice faded, the room erupted into chaos. Victoria's face went deathly pale. All the strength seemed to drain from her body, and she collapsed to the floor. Hearing that his championship had been revoked, Hector was completely dumbfounded. He leaped to his feet, pointing a trembling finger at the officials, his voice cracking. "Impossible! I earned that win. On what grounds are you revoking my title?" He paced back and forth like a caged animal, his fists clenched so tightly his nails dug into his palms. The muscles in his face twitched uncontrollably, his eyes filled with disbelief and fury. Watching his performance, I almost laughed out loud. Earned it? That was hilarious. In the first game, I had annihilated him, leaving him in utter defeat. In the second, he only managed a fluke win because Victoria cheated. In the third, I withdrew. He never actually won at all. Where did he get the audacity to claim he had earned it? I suppressed a smile, the corners of my mouth twitching upwards. Victoria, also stunned, frowned and pointed at me as she addressed the officials. "Did Sincere use his master's connections to pressure you? I already reported him to the higher-ups. You still have a chance to retract your decision. Don't make an enemy of the future king of the chess world," she demanded, her tone filled with accusation. The officials just looked at her with blatant contempt. "King of the chess world?" one of them sneered mockingly. "His title has been stripped, and he's about to be blacklisted. He'll never get the chance to compete again." Victoria's face turned as white as a sheet. Hector, panicking, collapsed to the floor. He had not only poured a fortune into this tournament, but had also gambled his entire future on it. He had dreamed of instant fame, but instead he had just destroyed his career, and Victoria had sacrificed her own coaching career right alongside him. It was a total devastating loss. Seeing that all was lost, Victoria resorted to hysterics. Facing the reporter, she burst into tears, snot and tears streaming down her face. "Hector and I have been framed. They conspired with the tournament officials to suppress us. Without any evidence, the world has lost its moral." Compass Hector, for his part, knelt on the floor, putting on a show of a man righteously indignant after being framed. He beat his chest and cried out to the heavens. "The heavens are unjust. Why do good people suffer?" So he turned to the reporters, sobbing. "Members of the press, I beg you. You must seek justice for me. Clear my name." With such a dramatic turn of events, the reporters swarmed me, aiming their microphones and cameras in my face. "Mr. Sterling, are you using your senior status to bully and suppress newcomers? Some are saying you were jealous of Hector Reed's talent and deliberately framed him. Do you have any comment?" A flood of questions washed over me. Victoria watched me being mobbed by the press, a look of triumph in her eyes. She assumed I had no proof and that my reputation was about to be ruined. "Sincere, at this point, your words mean nothing. Where is your evidence?" she challenged, as if she could already picture my downfall. Facing the barrage of questions, I remained perfectly calm. I let out a small laugh and pulled the recording pen from my pocket. "What's the rush, everyone? The evidence is right here, isn't it?" Chapter 5. Seeing me produce the recording pen, Victoria was visibly taken aback. Her eyes darted around as if she was trying to calculate her next move. Then she straightened her back, feigning composure. "It's just a recording pen. What could it possibly prove?" she said with a dismissive tone, as if I were bluffing. I smirked, said nothing, and simply pressed the play button. Victoria's voice, crisp and clear, filled the room. "Sincere, you have to let Hector win this match. I know you want your 9th title, but Hector is the future. You've already won 8 championships. Just let him have this last one. After it's done, I'll make sure you're well compensated." The recording was the conversation from before the match, where Victoria had told me to throw the game. As the recording played, the color drained from Victoria's face. Her lips trembled, but she couldn't utter a single word. The reporters who had been grilling me just moments before now turned on her, their eyes filled with shock and anger. They swarmed her and Hector like sharks that had scented blood. "Miss Vance, what is your response to this recording? Why did you two conspire together? Was it because of a romantic relationship? Mr. Reed, were you aware of this plan? Who was really manipulating this match?" The sharp questions came one after another, raining down on them like a hailstorm. Overwhelmed and furious, Victoria snatched the nearest camera and smashed it on the ground. "Get out, all of you, get out," she shrieked, like a cornered animal. Security guards rushed in and forcibly escorted the reporters out of the room. The room fell silent, leaving just a few of us. Victoria slumped to the ground, her eyes empty as she stared at me. "Sincere, we were husband and wife. I was doing this for your own good," she said, her voice laced with a pathetic attempt at emotional blackmail. "Don't you realize how many people in our company will be affected by this? The entire chess world could be shaken up," she wailed, tears streaming down her face. Hector glared at me with pure hatred. "You're so naive, you never think about the bigger picture," he accused. "After the scene you've caused today, you'll be an outcast in this circle. The chess world will have a huge talent gap because of you. I hope you're happy listening to them. I found it all incredibly laughable. They were the ones who colluded to fix a match, and now I, the one who upheld justice, was in the wrong?" Just as I was about to retort, Master Finch spoke up with a light chuckle. "Sincere is now the undisputed 9-time champion, the greatest in history. Everyone will be clamoring for his favor. Who would dare to touch him?" he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. "And as for talent," the next moment, my master took a file folder from his bag and handed it to me. Hector saw the folder and froze on the spot. Chapter 6. The folder Master Finch handed me was light. I could almost feel the shape of what was inside. I looked at him, puzzled. My master just gave me a mysterious smile. I opened the folder, and what I saw inside left me stunned. It was a smooth jade pendant, intricately carved with a dragon motif. I recognized it. It was my master's personal treasure, the symbol of his school, representing the passing of his legacy and teachings. Before I could speak, my master said with a soft laugh, "It seems I've arrived at just the right time. From now on, the future of the chess world rests on your shoulders." I stared at him in shock, unable to process it. With this pendant, I could command all of my master's resources, connections, and influence. It was tantamount to holding the reins of half the entire chess world. When Hector saw the pendant, his face turned a ghastly shade of green. He lunged towards Master Finch, pointing a trembling finger at me and roaring, "You old coot, my talent is clearly superior. Why would you give the pendant to him?" "You've always been biased," he shrieked hysterically, like a wild animal whose food had been stolen. Watching Hector's disgraceful display, I was filled with disgust. My face cold, I didn't hesitate to slap him across the face. The sharp crack echoed through the room. "Biased?" I sneered. "I think it's you whose heart is twisted. If my master and I hadn't saved you when you were at your lowest, who knows where you'd be begging for scraps right now. You show no gratitude. And what's worse, for a taste of fame and your own selfish desires, you betrayed our master and joined a foreign team. Do you have any right to question the years of training we've given you?" I glared at him, my words sharp and deliberate. From this day forward you are expelled from this school." The slap seemed to have stunned Hector. He clutched his face, looking at me in disbelief. He couldn't seem to grasp that I had dared to strike him. The rage in his eyes blazed, threatening to consume me. Suddenly, he grabbed an ashtray from the table and hurled it at my head. I couldn't dodge in time. It struck my forehead with a burst of sharp pain, and a warm liquid trickled down my cheek. My vision went black and I nearly collapsed. Sincere, my master cried out, rushing to support me. "Call the police," I said, gritting my teeth against the pain. The police arrived quickly and Victoria followed them in. When she saw the gash on my forehead, her expression changed. But she showed no concern for me. Instead, she immediately approached the officers, trying to smooth things over. "Officers, this is just a family matter, a small misunderstanding. We can resolve it ourselves," she pleaded, trying to downplay the incident. I let out a cold laugh. "A family dispute? He assaulted me." "This is aggravated assault." I was determined to press charges against Hector. Seeing my resolve, Victoria finally panicked. She came to me, begging in a low voice, "Sincere, I'm begging you, please let him go this one time. He can't have a criminal record." Tears started to well up in her eyes again. Watching her, I felt not a shred of pity. "If apologies worked, what would we need police for?" I said coldly. "I've already apologized to you. What more do you want?" Victoria's tone suddenly turned shrill. "If you don't sign the settlement agreement." She paused, a vicious glint in her eyes. "I'll get rid of the baby in my belly." Chapter 7. "Baby? What baby?" I frowned, my brows knitting together into a tight, tangled knot. Seeing my reaction, Victoria's face broke into that familiar smug smile, the curve of her lips dripping with mockery. "I told you, I did all of this so I could return to our family and give you a beautiful baby," she declared, lifting her chin, her eyes flashing with a near maniacal light. "Return to our family? What a joke." She talked about returning to our family while carrying on with Hector, even getting pregnant with his child. What kind of return was that? "If you want to save your heir, you'll sign that paper right now." Victoria's voice was sharp and piercing, a blade twisting in my heart. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her bag and slapped it down in front of me. I looked down. It was a pregnancy test report. The black and white paper clearly stated, 2 months pregnant. My heart plummeted like a stone into an abyss. I glanced at my master. He was looking down, silent, the lines on his face seeming to deepen. After a long moment he looked up and sighed heavily. "Sincere, I have entrusted my legacy to you. Whatever you decide to do, I will accept it." My master's words were the ultimate show of support. He had chosen to trust me completely. A wave of warmth filled my chest, strengthening my resolve. Seeing my master's stance, Hector became deliriously arrogant. He straightened up and strode towards me, a contemptuous smirk on his face. "Did you hear that? Even the old coot has backed down. What are you still pretending for?" His voice was full of provocation and ridicule. "If you don't want to be the last of your bloodline, you'll sign that settlement agreement right now," he crowed, as if I were already defeated. I watched Hector's pathetic, triumphant display, forcing down the rage building inside me. The police were still here. I couldn't be impulsive. I looked at Victoria. Her face was still plastered with that victorious smile, as if she had everything under control. My heart turned to ice. For Hector, she was willing to go this far, even using an unborn child as a bargaining chip. She was utterly unfit to be a mother. But if they thought I would simply cave, they were mistaken. I picked up the pen, pretending I was about to sign, then abruptly put it down. Hector frowned. "What's this? A moment ago you were all about honor and morals. Now you're ready to abandon your own child for your own benefit? Looks like you're no different from me." He paused, a vicious look in his eyes. "Oh wait, that's not right. You're also a murderer." His tone was dripping with scorn. In the face of his taunts, I just smiled disdainfully. It's Hector Reed's child anyway. Of course, I don't care. Chapter 8. Hector froze. "What did you say?" Victoria's face, however, suddenly turned ashen. Nonsense, that's a complete lie. If it's not your child, whose could it be? She shrieked, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I remained unruffled, pointing to the date on the pregnancy report. You almost had me fooled, I began calmly. But it seems you forgot something. I was unwell during that time, taking strong herbal medicine. We weren't intimate at all during that period. If it wasn't Hector's, then who, may I ask, did you borrow a seed from? Every word I spoke was like a nail hammered into Victoria's heart. She opened her mouth to argue, but found herself with nothing to say. Her face flushed red and then paled, a spectacular display of colors. In the end, she could only bite her lip, silent. Her eyes were filled with panic and fear, like a trapped animal. I sneered inwardly. So, Victoria, you have a day like this too. Seeing the situation resolved, the police officers exchanged glances and walked over to Hector. Mr. Reed, since the complainant refuses to settle, and you have committed intentional assault, we are now required by law to take you into custody. Please cooperate with our investigation. Only then did the reality of the situation hit Hector. He snapped his head up, his eyes wide, and pointed at me, shouting, "He framed me, you should be arresting him. Let me go, let go of me." The police ignored his protests and unceremoniously escorted him away. Hector struggled and cursed, but it was useless. His figure disappeared through the doorway, leaving behind a trail of fading curses. Soon, the truth of the whole affair was exposed by the media. Victoria was not only suspended from her position, but the companies associated with her name were also investigated. Hector's lies were completely unraveled. Everyone who had been wronged by Victoria came looking for payback, and she quickly found herself struggling just to get by. When I got home, I was surprised to find Victoria there, bustling around in my kitchen. The table was set with 4 dishes and a soup, all steaming hot. I was taken aback. Ever since she had gotten involved with Hector, Victoria had only ever cooked him special, nutritious meals, while I was left with the scraps. Why the sudden feast for me? Seeing me, Victoria immediately put on a virtuous wifely act. "You're back? Eat while it's hot. I'll do your laundry in a bit." Her tone was gentle, her smile radiant, as if she were truly madly in love with me. But one look at the dishes on the table and I lost my appetite completely. As my wife, she knew perfectly well that I was still on herbal medicine. The doctor had strictly forbidden me from eating anything spicy or overly stimulating. Yet here was a table full of chili-laden dishes, along with rich meats like beef and lamb. With that thought, I didn't take a single bite. Victoria looked at me confused. "Why aren't you eating? Weren't these your favorites before?" I looked at her, my face a cold mask. "Victoria, have you forgotten? I'm still on medication." Chapter 9. The color drained from Victoria's face, leaving it chalky and pale. Her lips trembled and her eyes darted away, flustered like a child caught doing something wrong. I'm sorry, I just forgot you were still on medication," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. She nervously twisted the hem of her shirt, her eyes pleading. I looked at her, feeling no emotion but a deep, bottomless disgust. "There's no need," I said, my voice as cold as ice. "Victoria, get out of my house. Now." My words were a sharp knife plunging into her heart. She flinched, her eyes instantly reddening. Tears welled up, but she fought to keep them from falling. Do you think I'm tainted now?" she choked out, her voice trembling violently. I admit I acted impulsively before. I crossed a line. If I get rid of the baby, will you forgive me? Will you give me and Hector a chance?" She looked up, her eyes filled with desperate hope. Before I could even respond, she turned and fled, her figure vanishing through the door like a gust of wind. I didn't think much of it, assuming it was just another one of her dramatic episodes. But no sooner had she left than Hector appeared at my door. I frowned. "What are you doing here?" Hector sneered. "I'm here to make a deal. With your reputation, if you don't press charges and give me a chance, I can still make a comeback." I was speechless for a moment. "Why would I help you?" Hector let out another cold laugh, looking utterly confident. I have proof of all the assets Victoria has secretly transferred from you over the years. If you help me, I'll expose her and get your money back. And after that, I'll give you half of everything I earn. No, 70%. I feigned curiosity. Victoria was pregnant with your child and was even willing to get an abortion for you. Is it right for you to treat her like this? Hector's sneer turned into a look of pure contempt. I don't even like her. She thought I was the one who touched her that night she got drunk, but I actually handed her over to an old foreign businessman. That's how I secured my spot in the finals. So, that baby was never mine to begin with. Why should I care? Besides, with money, I can have any woman I want. So, are you in or not? I suddenly broke into a wide smile and pointed behind him. Never mind me. The woman behind you, Victoria, probably won't agree to that. Chapter 10. Hector whipped around, the smug look on his face freezing and cracking like a mask dropped on stage. He saw Victoria. She was clutching a pink medical form, the abortion receipt, her face as white as paper, completely drained of blood. Hector's eyes bulged, looking as if they might pop out of his head. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His Adam's apple bobbed convulsively like he had swallowed a stone. Victoria, when did you get here? He stammered, his voice shaking uncontrollably. Victoria didn't answer. She slowly raised her hand and slapped him hard across the face. The crisp sound echoed in the silent room. A trickle of blood appeared at the corner of Hector's mouth. He clutched his cheek, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Tears streamed down Victoria's face like a broken dam. Her voice was choked with despair. Hector, I gave up almost everything for you. And this is how you repay me? I gave up my career, my reputation, even my baby, and you actually... She clutched her stomach, her body trembling so violently it seemed she might collapse at any moment. Seeing that he was exposed, Hector dropped all pretense. He grabbed Victoria by the throat, his eyes blazing with cruel ferocity. You old broad. I was just playing you for a fool. Did you really think you were something special? He snarled, his voice a guttural roar. It's all your fault. My plan failed. I was going to keep you around because you were pregnant, but now that you've gotten rid of the baby, you can just go rot for all I care. He shoved her away violently and left without a backward glance. Victoria collapsed onto the floor like a discarded rag doll, her eyes vacant and lifeless. I was about to close the door when she lunged forward and grabbed my arm, her eyes pleading, "Please give me one more chance. I was wrong. I was really wrong." Her voice trembled like a leaf in the wind. I looked at her, my heart a cold, still stone. When I loved you, I could tolerate anything from you, I said, my voice flat and devoid of warmth. But now, I don't love you anymore. I will not give you another chance. I shook her hand off. People have to learn to take responsibility for their own choices. Life is like a game of chess. Once a move is made, there are no regrets. I closed the door, shutting out the sound of Victoria's desperate sobs. Later, I heard that Hector, his reputation completely destroyed by the match-fixing scandal, was permanently banned from the league. The next news I heard of him was of his death. Apparently, his extravagant lifestyle had left him with a mountain of debt. After being blacklisted, he couldn't pay it back and was killed by his creditors. As for Victoria, she disappeared completely. Some said she went abroad, with nowhere else to go. Others said she ended up at a charity, teaching chess to children for free. Whatever happened, I no longer cared. After all, life is like a game of chess. Once a move is made, there are no regrets. All that matters to me now is the present moment. The end.